Analysis of the week. Welcome, everybody. Today is August 13th, and we are going to be analyzing the pairs NZD USD, AUD USD, Euro USD, GBP USD, and USD CAD. Now, these are most of the majors that are going to be affected by some high impact news events that will be occurring this week from August 13th through the 18th. Now, this is just the analysis of the week. We're going to be starting off on a macro time frame, so on a larger time frame, going to a micro time frame. So going from a larger time frame to a shorter time frame, and I'm going to be commentating while analyzing each pair. So before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to forexcommunity.online. If you guys are not in that, check it out, type it in. It is a link. You can type it in your browser right here, click enter. You will be automatically directed to a chat room with thousands of traders all around the world trading Forex and different pairs, sharing their analysis. Also, forexalerts.online, that is a channel that is managed by myself, and I basically send out news, news events, analysis, my point of view on the market, and different perspectives that I have for different pairs. So, let's get started with NZD USD. We are on the daily time frame. Looking at it here, we are about 50 minutes into market open, so almost an hour ago the market's open, and I do believe there is a small gap. Yeah, it was just filled on NZD USD. But looking at the macro, we can see prices in this large range here, correct? So let's go down to a smaller time frame, the 4-hour. Now on the 4-hour chart, we can see price came to that range, the bottom of the range, and then came up to the top of the range, and now is coming back down. But it is struggling at this previous structure low here. We can see a low that was created at 0.726 area, and then price worked that low, created that W formation off that low, and now I believe we could see for this week some sort of consolidation in this area, and then a break to the next low. It could either break to this next previous low or continue coming upwards out of this consolidation. So what I'm doing is just looking at each time frame, trying to find a bias that suits each one, and then kind of correlates with each other. So here we can see the 1-hour time frame, just a little bit more detail. We do have, it looks like let's look at the highs and the lows now. Alright, we do have the high of the previous day is right here, and then there's another high at that point. So what I'm thinking is we could see either a working of this high until, you know, London session. So we can see price is in that range for Asian session range. The range is being defined right now. So we'll just have to see how that range is defined. And it's, once again, you guys, even though I'm creating this bias now, I'm constantly changing or evolving, updating my bias as the structure of the market and as price moves. So if I see a piece of structure that I don't like, that I believe, all right, a high was created here, and then for the past 2 or 3 days this high has been respected and not broken, I'm not going to continue going long. I'm going to look to short at my next opportunity. So it's always good to have that flexible bias. I'm expecting some sort of range in here, and then either a spike to the high and see the working of that high and then come down to the lows. We can see that W formation here, and then this W would create basically that M, and that's the structure that we the main structure we trade. The M's and W's off of the highs and the lows. Now, if it does not break, if it does break the high, then we could see a continuation of consolidation until this next high, this next previous structure high. And then we could see a spike to that high, and that's also coming a bit out of the range, and then consolidation and dropping. But that's getting more into the future. We do have a high impact news event coming in about at 6:45, so in about an hour or so. So yeah, we could definitely actually see this spike to the high happen even before London session, and we could see it happen, possibly happen within the hour, and price could just spike up like this and then make its way down to the low like we're expecting. But anyway, look for something like that to play out. Just look for, always be looking at the highs and the lows, you guys. I'm not really making a set bias. This isn't really going to be a set analysis for you guys. This is just going to be me analyzing for the week ahead, how you guys, how you can see me analyze this live. This obviously is just my best guess. I'm not, this isn't no guarantee that price is going to move the way that I'm explaining it to, so just take that in mind. Next, we have the, well, NZD USD. We really don't have any news until Wednesday, besides the news that we have today. So we could definitely see that, and then the Wednesday news could be either this previous high or this previous low that Wednesday news is used to spike one of these highs or lows. Just realize that, remember that the highs and the lows and the high impact news events, or most, basically all news events, but mostly the high impact news events are used in correlation with each other. So use the highs and the lows and the high impact news events to your advantage. Now, moving on to the odd USD, we do have some news coming up Monday, and then Wednesday. But obviously, the USD news will affect the Aussie as well as the NZD. So, should see some movement on all the USD pairs, because there are quite a few USD related high impact news events Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Multiple news events. So here we can see odd USD came out of this zone. It was in about a 675 pip consolidation zone area. It is now breaking out and retesting the high of that zone. Let's go to the 4-hour. Looking at the 4-hour, we can see that breakout happened in one fierce candle. If we do have a breakout to the low, this line here, this support, resistance, whatever you want to call it, basically what it is the 0.785 price area will be broken in one large candlestick. So it will be tested, and then right before or right after testing, it will be broken, like we saw here. Tested it for a few days, and then it broke in one candle. We can see it's testing, and then if it wants to break, it will break in one candle. Now, looking at the 15-minute chart, actually let's go to the 1-hour. Now, the 1-hour chart, we could definitely see some news events for this week. Play in this zone. So there's definitely going to be liquidity in this area, correct? At the break of this 0.785 area, there's obviously lots of liquidity, whether it be sell stops or buy limit orders. So let's go on the micro 15-minute chart, just looking at the structure and the highs and the lows of the day. Now we can see there's an obvious structure here of a previous high, the high of the previous day, and the previous day. Is at 0.791. So we could definitely see, just like NZD USD, odd USD as well, come and spike up, create that M formation off of the previous day's high and then drop London session to the lows here, and then a USD news event will bring price down to the lows, and then we could see a possible W formation and a continuation of that uptrend, because we can see there is a definite uptrend, an outstanding uptrend, and there's a strong area of liquidity at 0.785. So these are just going to be very brief analysis, you guys. If I wanted to do it really in depth, it would take forever. So it's just going to be really brief analysis. Look for the highs and the lows, price reacting off of the highs and the lows in correlation to these news events. This is how I analyze, you guys. This is exactly how I analyze. You're in my head right now, and hopefully you can pick out as many things, pick up on the things that I see, so that you in turn can see them yourself. So moving on to the Euro USD, we can see on the macro daily chart as well, the Euro is in a very strong uptrend. Now we can see price was in this zone. It was about maybe 1,000 pips. Yeah, 1,200 pip zone that it was consolidating in for the past few years. Now it finally broke out of this zone. Since 2015, we've been in this zone. Just now recently, we've had that uptrend coming back, breaking out of this zone. Now the dollar is getting weaker and weaker, so obviously we can expect the euro to get stronger. I can see right now, you can see on my chart, I have the right here, there's a small gap that is, it looks like the euro is making its way towards that gap. So let's look at some previous structures on the 4-hour chart. Now, currently price is in a bit of a zone right here, a micro zone. We could see price come down into this area. We could definitely see that, and then bounce from here, from the 1.65 area, bounce all the way up to the 1.2. So something similar to this, and then fill the gap at 1.2. Now that's just looking at the 4-hour macro chart. Let's look at the 1-hour. We could definitely see this consolidation continuing. This consolidation in this zone, and then a breakout of the zone to the low to get retail traders, induce them short, and get them to think that the trend is reversing, and commit their funds short, and then what we know to be the whipsaw coming up and taking them out, and then continuing upwards. So we could definitely see something like that as well, just that continuation of that bullish trend. It's not looking very good for the US dollar, but we'll just have to see. 15-minute chart. Let's look at the highs and the lows. Now here's the high of the previous week, or I should say, I believe this is either the high of the previous week or the month. So this would be the high of the previous week, and then here's the high of the previous week, right at this area. So we could see price come up, and then this is in correlation with our odd and NZD bias that spike up and then come down and work the lows before coming back up and then making its way, working the high here and then coming back down, possibly back into this zone and then coming up. If that may not happen. It may just spike to the low, like we see here, that W formation, or even as low as 1.64 or 1.6, and then continue its move upwards. I would be looking to buy the euro at its lows, at its lowest point of this week or the next week. Let's move on to the GBP USD. The daily. Now the GBP USD is really in a nice uptrend, a steady uptrend. We can see it was in sort of a range here, right here. Now it broke out of this range and then created a new range here, and it now is consolidating in that range or in that zone. So we could definitely see, well, right now we can see price respecting the 1.295 area. So that's definitely a respected area. Let's go to the 15-minute chart just to look at the highs and the lows. And we can see the low, or the lows. Yeah, the low is not, it's not being broken. It's being respected very nicely. And now there's a zone here, and we could definitely see a, oops, let's copy this here. I can't grab it. There we go. All right. From the high to the low, we can see price just consolidating in this range, And what can we expect? Well, possibly a spike to the high of the previous day, the previous structure high, and then come down, just like we are expecting on the other USD related pairs. Now this could be totally opposite. The GBP USD is quite different. It's a little bit more volatile. We could just see some type of consolidation in here, and then a swing down, and then a continuation of that uptrend, because we definitely see a large amount of liquidity trapped in this area. Price has just been coming down, spiking into there, getting people to sell. Well, get him to sell again. Let's wait. Get him to sell. Get him to sell one more time. And then we take all this and then move price completely away from it. So all this liquidity in here will continue to be trapped until price moves back down and consolidates in that area. So expect that. Just know that could definitely be a possibility. Let's look at the GBP. Euro, I didn't really explain much of the news, but we do have a bank holiday on Tuesday. But for the rest, we don't have anything except the US dollar. So that will obviously affect the euro as well. Now the GBP doesn't have any news until Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Alright, let's move on to USD CAD. USD CAD is interesting because we have that. We can see price in a very large price range. Just consolidating in this range. Well, not really consolidating. I mean, it broke. It looks like it was in a definite uptrend. And now, just within the past few months, the dollar has collapsed quite a bit. So it is beginning to stabilize once again and creating that zone here. Now let's look at the 15-minute chart. We can see that zone is actually somewhat large, about 300 pips. And what we notice is price continuing to move inside this zone, respecting the highs and the lows of the zone. We can definitely see something like this happen. But expect this zone to be respected for a while yet. I do think this zone will be respected as long as price is inside of it. We could definitely see a, well, this, to me, this looks like a trap move. This looks like it was a fake out to fake people out and induce retail traders to sell, and then price will come back up, continue, break out of the range just a bit, and then we could see maybe a head and shoulders pattern or just that M formation, and then a continuation of that trend inside of this range. So that downtrend could continue until meeting the low of the previous structure low here. So the low right here and the high. Look for respected areas like that in between the highs and the lows. So let's look at what we have for the news events. Not much for the CAD, Canadian dollar. Mostly we'll be seeing the US dollar playing out for the high impact news events. And yeah, that was the analysis for the week, you guys. I know it wasn't perfect. We'll just have to see, how this plays out. Right now we can see, prices respecting this low, the low of the previous day. We can see the consolidation of this area, and then possibly a definite breakout, and then to work the high in here, and then a drop. So before the charts get too messy or you guys get too confused, try it yourselves. Just try analyzing, but try it in real time. Try it, this analyzing the highs and the lows only works on a micro time frame. If you're analyzing the highs and the lows of the previous structures, for example, the previous day, so you wouldn't want to be looking at the 4-hour chart and then looking for looking at the structure of the previous day. It's just, there are times where people say this is, they look at a higher time frame because it's less noise, but there's times where you need more noise to understand or to properly hear what is being said. So sometimes you need to pump the volume up to really get that higher level of understanding. So what I do is look at the 15-minute chart and basically just look at the structure and the highs and the lows. Now, do what you may with this strategy. If you want to integrate it with your own, do so with beware when doing so, because I've noticed that this strategy works best on its own, and when trying to mix it with indicators or different strategies, it kind of messes it up. So other than that, that's really what I was getting on to. That was, basically all of the analysis for you guys. So if you have not checked out the forexcommunity.online or forexalerts.online, I do encourage you to do so. Click that link, click the URL up here, and then type it in, click enter, and it will show up. So thank you guys once again for tuning in. This was the analysis of the week, August 13th through the 18th. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. I'm gonna cut it right now. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. Peace out.